So, as of this week, also, Roman Reigns has surpassed Hulk Hogan for the longest WWE Championship reign in the WrestleMania era, with a reign that is surpassing 1,093 days. I believe that the previous record was 1,092 days. And just to be clear, when we're talking about the WrestleMania era, we're essentially talking about the last 40 years in WWE history. So Roman Reigns has had the longest WWE Championship reign in the past 40 years. So I want to know how you feel about that. Do you think it's too long? Do you think it's too short? Do you think it's well deserved? Let me know.
Well, first and foremost, I would like to preface this by saying, in the words of the great Iron Sheik, fuck the Hulk Hogan.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Iron Sheik.
Rest in peace. I think it's completely well deserved. Just because, as I said previous times, this is like the greatest, like, not only this character development I've seen from WWE in quite some time. That's actually on the main roster, not from like NXT or whatnot, but like actual layers and layers and layers to the story, to all different characters, to where everyone's eating by the end of it. Like, it is such a fruitful reign. His reign embodies what most championship title reigns should feel like. I don't feel like you should just get the belt just because you're good, but because of the power that you have and the impact you're going to have on not only the company but the roster itself. Because, like, as we said before, whoever takes it off of Roman, not only is that going to be a huge notch on their belt, but it's just like the amount of like layers that goes into this belt now that you are literally carrying, and all the people that you basically healed and gave a facelift to the characters behind you while you did that. It's immense. So I think that I know there's a lot of people that are sick and tired of the Bloodline storyline, but I feel like you need to see like the good that's came out of it and why they needed to like let him hold on to it for this long. Cause I was a huge Roman Reigns hater. It took me a long time, even when he turned heel, for me to even like come around to him. And there was times where I was like complaining and nagging, saying, "Yo, get the belt off of him! Like, you're not gonna give it to Daniel. You're not gonna give it to Edge. You're not gonna give it to Seth. Like, what are we doing here?" But then, like, I sit back and I'm like, "Wow! Like, he really helped this roster. He fed this roster with this reign. Like, that has to get a round of applause." And also, like, why did we not put an end to Hulk Hogan's reign any sooner? To be honest, I'm just saying, like, I just feel like that's a weird thing to keep around in the background when there's been so many other greater stars since Hulk Hogan. That, like, I didn't even know of that knowledge until this came out about Roman. But I want to hear your take about the 1,000 days and why did they hold off and choose Roman?
I feel like the reason why is because they were waiting for the perfect storm. I feel like it's all about timing when it comes to situations like these. I feel like if we go back from the Attitude Era until now, or not from the Attitude Era, from Hulk Hogan's era until now, right? We're talking about, you know, we're talking about late 80s, so that's still Hogan. We're talking about early 90s, mid 90s. Now we're getting into Shawn. We're getting into Brett. Now we're talking about Rock and then Austin. Then we're talking about Triple H. And I feel like during the 90s, it was a point in time where the title had to go back and forth between multiple people to keep the audience engaged, because this was the era where wrestling was live, right? WCW Monday Nitro was live. WWE Raw went live in response to Nitro being live. So they had to continue to make everything surprising. So someone couldn't hold that belt for too long. And I feel like that principle kind of carried over into the Ruthless Aggression era and even into the PG era, right? You wanted to keep people engaged. So nobody's reign was like super duper long. I feel like this is a big thing of timing because, like, I didn't even know that his reign was that long until it was mentioned. And that is a testament to how good the storyline is. I feel like the story should be so good that you're not even paying attention to the accolades that someone attains because you're just so invested in the story. Like, I'm still trying to figure out if like Jay is going to challenge at SummerSlam, and then it's like, up, Roman just surpassed Hogan, and it's just like, wait, whoa, how did that happen? It was because I was so invested in the story. But I do believe that it is well deserved because I think that it is literally the perfect kind of trifecta and blending of all the elements, you have a guy in Roman Reigns who is easily the biggest draw in the biggest wrestler in the world based on how much he draws. He is at the top of his game. He is the best version of himself. He is the most engaging version of himself. And he is on top of WWE and he holds the belts. So you have that aspect. Then you have the aspect of the storyline. The Bloodline storyline has been a major part of WWE programming for the better part of 3 years. It has elevated his family. It has elevated people outside of his family. It has elevated a bunch of people on the roster. It's damn near elevated every championship because, like I said in a couple episodes before, it is the Bloodline storyline that made the tag team championships a main event at WrestleMania, which I don't think we've seen in the modern era. It is the Bloodline storyline that elevated the US title, that elevated the Universal and the WWE championship, that elevated Money in the Bank. Because a big thing going into this Money in the Bank was who's going to win it, because this person can potentially dethrone Roman. They have the case or the means to dethrone Roman. So the Money in the Bank value was elevated. It has elevated every championship. It has elevated every person involved. It has elevated every, like, it's just elevated the whole program. The tribal court segment lasted 40 minutes. 40-minute segment. And nobody complained about how long it was. It should tell you how well this storyline has elevated the entire company. Um, and I think that Roman Reigns deserves to surpass Hulk Hogan, and I believe that the way that he did it um was phenomenal, because this is literally the best story in the history of WWE. There is no story that has been this good ever, ever. That has been this layered, that has remained at the top of the card, that has elevated this many people. So that's my little stance on that.
I just had to ask, now that you listed all that, do you think you could really make a valid argument right now on who's better between John Cena and Roman Reigns based off of their effect on the company, and that the fact that they gave this privilege to Roman to have the title exceed Hulk Hogan's reign versus, John Cena, given again like how just of a household name he is. I mean, he just
Right.
came back to Money in the Bank, and like the amount of cheers that was just ringing through the arena. Do you think people are going to look back and have like this argument of comparing like who had a
Absolutely.
better, more lasting effect on the company, John Cena or Roman Reigns? Like, can you have that even now?
Absolutely, you can have that even now, because I believe I think it's very the Cena and Roman debate is like the LeBron Jordan debate. It's like there are certain things that you can, like, there's certain things that you can kind of make the argument for now because of how great it is now. Like, sometimes I feel like you don't really appreciate things until they're gone. And I feel like that's going to be the case for Roman, just like it was the case for John. But I feel like what's happening now is so great that you can make the argument for it now, because of the rarity that is attached to this storyline and the longevity that is attached to it, and the quality. Literally every premium live event for the past year, there has been a plot twist. We cannot say that for any other storyline in WWE in the past 25 years. So I think that you can make that argument. And I feel like that conversation of Roman and John is going to be the LeBron, Michael Jordan argument of the WWE once Roman Reigns retires. What about you? How do you feel about it?
I feel like you could actually make that argument now, but I feel like the same way it didn't settle in for fans how important John Cena was to the company until he left, and then he came back and he just had like this enormous pop. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think people are going to be able to like foresee that till he takes, like you say, like a year off from the company, and like he comes back and we see the reaction that he gets, because he
Mm-hmm.
really is that man, and he really is like the face of the company as we're speaking. Like, he has
Yeah.
elevated it, he has elevated the roster, he has elevated people around him.
Mm-hmm.
um I feel like you could make an argument for both. If you would have asked me like 3 years ago, I'm cursing you out for even trying to put Roman Reigns in the same conversation as Cena, because I was a Cena girl growing up, bro. Like, I might even argue tooth and nail about Cena versus The Rock. Okay, but with all that he's done in such a small amount of time, yeah, that's quite the argument that you could really put a whole case up. You really could.
Right.
Cause he could leave right now and that man's like his net worth, his stocks is just way the hell up here. Anyone that takes him for anything, whether it's wrestling related or movie related or whatever the hell related, like they found a gold mine in Roman for what he did and the
Right.
high note he be walking off on. But I want to ask the audience this. Do you
Mm.
think you could build a case for John Cena versus Roman in terms of their legacy in this company?
I think. Ooh, um, personally, I feel like as of right now, I think it's equal almost. I feel like
Whoa.
I think they're on the same level. And that sucks because I'm a Cena fan. But I feel like the one thing John Cena has done it all, right? The one thing that has kind of eluded John his entire career is his ability to put others over. But Roman has done that and has still looked dominant and has still I don't remember any storyline that John Cena was in that is as good as the Bloodline storyline. I don't remember any
Because John was
championship.
never really in a faction. Like he
John
was
was
always
never
on.
very true. But at the same time, I feel like ugh, John was never in a faction, but I still feel like he could have participated in a story that was more engaging. And there were opportunities for factions with John, but that's a different story for a different day. But I feel like Roman and John are kind of equal. I feel like they're different animal, same beast type of situation. I just feel like it's it's one of those like John Cena as an individual talent is capable of things that Roman may have not done, but at the same time, Roman has done things that John Cena didn't do during his career.
Where I feel like they
So,
need to run it back. They need to run back John Cena versus Roman. They should like had never had Austin Theory versus Cena, and you could give it some time and
mhm.
give them the match. And I feel like that would be the next Cena versus The Rock. It'd be that level of hype.
You're saying that Cena versus Roman is the next Rock versus Cena.
Yeah, considering where they stand in the company,
Ooh, that's a good little hot take.
someone's gonna probably eat my ass up for that. But I'm standing on it firm, 10 toes down.
10 toes down. I'm actually gonna put that question out there. Do you feel like Roman Reigns versus John Cena in 2023 will be the next John Cena versus The Rock? Let us know in the comments. But that